Mathites, yasas, discipuli salvete. Welcome to another episode. This is lesson 5, and this one will be different from the first 4, which I hope you've seen and taken good notes on, because now we're going to start building a little bit of vocabulary. This is going to be a short video. I don't want any single episode to be overwhelming. So the aim is to give you just enough words that you can memorize before you move on to another episode, which will be available soon. So let's take a look at some common words that we'll be encountering in medical Greek and Latin. And we're sticking with Greek for a little while longer. Remember, all of these words will have the prefixes and suffixes from previous episodes tacked onto them, and some of them you'll already know. So I'm just going to present everything here as simply as possible. I'll give the Greek word on the left its combining form, in other words, what it looks like when it's mixed with other roots and affixes, and of course its meaning. We start with algos, which looks just like the Greek, algos. Its combining form is alg, and it means pain. Related to this one is algesis, and its combining form is alges, A-L-G-E-S, and this talks about sensitivity to pain. So these actually come from the same root. I'm not going to give the Greek for all of these. Some of them should be very easy to figure out. And from these words, we'll get things like analgesic and myalgia. And you've probably seen ALG in lots of other words before. Analgesic begins with an AN, so there's that alpha privative I mentioned in one of the early episodes. And hyperalgesia, okay, which is like a high sensitivity to pain. Then we move on. We have angion, and in Greek this is angion. Its combining form is ANGI, and this is related to duct or vessel or blood vessel. Interestingly, the word angio in modern Greek is still used to talk about just regular holding vessels as well, in addition to these things. So this would be an angio. Okay, it's just a vase or one of the many, many other kinds of jars and containers that the ancient Greeks had made, and the word is still used today. All right, and then we move on to our arteria. By the way, the word there was a word that flashed across the bottom, angiotomy, and this is used to talk about the cutting of vessels. Okay, cutting of blood vessels, the dissecting of them. So we move on to arteria, and its combining form is artery, and you might know where this is going, artery. Okay, so that's a pretty easy one to figure out. You might have even known it before the English came up. Then we have arthron. Okay, and here we have ARTHR. And this is where we get joint, like arthritis. Okay, arthron has a couple of other meanings in Greek as well, but for now, let's leave it at joint. Next, we have BIOS, which we will see in computers as well, and in many other cases. And the combining form is bi, and it's life, like biology and symbiosis. Okay, an antibiotic and many other ones. We'll build the words later. Note the combining form bi is not to be confused with the Latin bi, which means two, like bicycle. Next we have bradis, and its combining form is bradi. This means slow. For those of you who are taking Greek with me, this is where we get the word vravi, which means evening. Okay, slowness is associated with lateness. So when it's vravi, it's late. If you want to talk about somebody who is running late, one of the words that you could use, one of the roots that you'll see, is this one. Although many people probably use argo more often. We'll take a look at both of those later. Oh, and there are those Greek words. All right, and then we move on to an easy one, cardia, and you'll see that the Greek kappa is Latinized to a C. Okay, even though it looks like a Latin word, it still is Greek. And this is obviously heart, cardia. And one more for today, kephale, which again is Latinized. You'll see that C. The PH in kephal tells us that it comes from Greek, not from Latin. And this is where you'll get head. Now, what's confusing for someone who probably who's a Greek student is we have kefali and kefali. Kefali is the more common modern term, but we still use kefali. And we get lots and lots of terms here: autocephalus, hydrocephaly, microcephaly, megalocephaly, and lots more. And again, we'll get to the actual vocabulary building part later. We just need some words that we can work with before we move on to that. So that's all I'm going to give you in this episode. Please be sure that you're taking good notes, that you're organizing these. This is actually the first section where I've given you nouns, noun roots, and there will be a lot more to come. There are actually going to be dozens and dozens more episodes. So we'll get there, but we'll do it slowly. That's it for now. Telos.